By way of introduction to our special guest today, I think I could do no better than to quote from the Business Eye publication that just came out this morning that Richard Buckley wrote. It's literally off the press. And the opening paragraph states, "For those of you out there who haven't met Brian McConville, this man is a force of nature. But to borrow one of his own inimitable phrases, as hairy arse businessmen go, he's up there with the very best." Will you please welcome Brian McConville. Is that how you see yourself, Brian, as a hairy arse businessman?
That's about the height of it. Just got a suit on me.
The story of MJM, as we know it today, started in 1983. But let's go back a little further than that. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your early ambitions and so on.
Well, I was born in Rift-Island. Any of me knows where Rift-Island is. Some people say it's the centre of the universe, but that's to be proven yet. In a small farm, 30-40 acre farm. My father, 6 children, my mother. I think it was difficult, things was hard, but there always seemed to be enough to do us, and that was it. I went to the local primary school, went to the secondary school, and come home from school every day, or whichever days I went to school. And worked on the farm, and that was it. So, come of age, I think it was about 16. No, I wasn't. I was younger. 15. My father was sort of starting to plan for me to come home to milk cows, and my mother says, "No, we'll send that young lad out and get him a trade first. At least when he gets his trade, then he'll always have something to fall back on." Yeah. So, in the middle of doing that, I was holding a few jobs down, but milking cows and serving my apprenticeship and so on and so forth.
So school didn't interest you at all, did it not?
I hadn't time. Hadn't time, sir.
What age did you leave?
Probably close to 15.
Was that a disappointment to the parents, or?
Oh no, as long as I was home to milk the cows from my father.
That's all.
Same time the father, like, you know.
So at that age, you said you had a few jobs. What else were you working at?
I was used to work in the Belfast Hotel in Banbridge. I was emptying the skips out the back because I was too young to go into I was about 13 at the time. And then I progressed into getting a dicky bowl and got onto the floor with a tray to lift glasses, and I wasn't even allowed to serve. And then as a waiter, I was allowed to serve drink, and then eventually, a few years later, I was a barman and so on and so forth. So had that and a few other bits and pieces of jobs that I had. So
work was important to you, though, was it? That ethos of work.
No, money was important to me, sir. I had to do the work to get the money.
So when did the joinery business start? How did that happen?
Just tell you, I still think about it today. I had a job in the Belmont in Banbridge. They used to pay me £3.20 a night. Used to do 3 nights a week. And I often wondered about this. Why they never just says, "Hey, young fella, there's £10 for you." Every week you would have come up, oh, you've been a line of people. And every one of us would have been getting our £9.60 in the envelope. You know, and I often said, look, why did they not just give you the extra 40p and make it a tenner? But that was the way it was in those days.
Yeah. What did you do with that money?
I saved it. I think by the time I was about 20, no, when I was about 18, I had thousands in the bank.
Thousands? Mm-hmm. So you had a plan, Brian, did you?
Yes.
What was that plan?
Never to run out of money.
Right.
Do you want the truth of it? That's what just never to run out of money.
Is money going to large loom in this conversation today?
For a wee while it will, yeah.
Tell me about the joinery business, how you get into that.
Again, between working in the hotel and working at home on the farm, at night times and stuff, I went into my father's shed and started playing around with timber. And I made a box. Our local vet asked me to make him a box for going to shows. So I made him a box, and then somebody else seen it and said, "Make another one of those." So I made several different products for local people around home. Then at the same time I was serving my time. It just all sort of started to gel from there. Then I worked at a full-time job with a company called JMJ. I'm not sure many people know of it, but it was a very successful company in Northern Ireland, where I went all over the south with them, then went to the Middle East. And
doing what as such?
Joinery. In those days, it was way back, shuttering joinery. I worked in the ESB power stations, shuttered all the chimney stacks. So you go down to Dublin, they're landmarks today. shutting all those big rings going up into the air to take the fumes out of the power stations up. So that was shuttering, and then into various different stages of types of shuttering, and then into ordinary joinery work, first fixing, second fixing, joinery.
So you're a master craftsman.
Does anybody know me here? No, yes, of course I am. Of course I am. That's why I stuck at it all my life.
Well, let's take us into 1983. What made you think then that you could start out on the road that you started?
I was working for a local, I'd come home from the Middle East, started work in Belfast, and I was working with another guy, and what the way he was doing it, and actually Connie had, my wife had a big influence in this as well. She said to me, "You're complaining about this guy, sure, you can do better." And he says, "Of course I can do better." He says, "Well, go and do it." And that was sort of one of the things that we started off from there. So then, very, very quickly, I had 30 or 40 guys working for me around Belfast, doing first and second fixing. Joiners in those days were getting £3.75 an hour, and I was charging the customer £4 or £4.25. So then I really started to see how I could ramp up this. So these £3 were coming into the bank quicker and quicker and quicker. So that's where I started the first part of subcontracting. Then I got to understand people, I got to understand contracting, I got to understand the ability of saying, yes, I can do that, and then walking down the road and saying, did I just say, yes, I can do that? How the hell am I going to do that now? And having to figure out how to actually physically get it done. It was the big thing.
So this was MJA. This was the
This
start
was
of
just
MJM.
this was just about pre MJM. It was out of that I was asked had I got a company name, and that was where the company first then was formed.
What did the initials stand for?
It's just the opposite of the company I used to work for. I used to work for JMJ, so I thought, right, like there was lots of there's really hours and hours. And I remember going to the first accountant. No, but seriously, I remember going to an accountant. I was days in Jahan and Yuri, very bitla, and Des was so nice. He says, I was told I need a company. So that's all right. He says, I can set you one up. And he says, give me a name. I says, what do you mean? He says, well, X, Y, and Z Limited or something. I says, all right. And I said, MJM. He says, what does that stand for? He says, the opposite of the company I work for at the minute, JMJ.
Simple that it stands for nothing other than that.
Well, now they call it McConville's Jolly Men, but I think.
So there you were starting. You're working around Belfast. When did the connection with what you're doing today? How did that start?
I think back in 1983, we were doing quite a bit of refit work for houses and so on and so forth. We'll come into that. I think it was 83 was that first recession that I remember. Things started to get very, very tight. And I went across on the ferry to England. I don't know what age it was, 82, 20 something. And I went across on the ferry from Dublin, which was the B&I ferries in those days. So if there's any young fellows doing sitting in the pub having a beer, I says to the barman, and he does all this sort of stuff. He says, there's a man in Dublin who looks after that, and give me his name. And I just got this burning desire that I had to speak to this man and asked him, could he give me some work in the ships? Could I do some of his joinery work? And that was a long, long time ago.
So you started in that Irish ferry?
That was B&I at the time, so I done a bit for B&I, then I started to do a bit for Sea-Link, for the older ones, they always remember Sea-Link, and then done a little bit for fishing boats, and then done a bit for P&O, done a bit for the Navy, and eventually worked my whole way right around Ireland, that everybody in the coast knew who we were, and we were working for them all.
It was very astute of you to see that gap, to see that market potential.
I don't know if anybody has seen it. It was there.
Well, I'm sure others saw it, but did do nothing about it. Are you a very ambitious man?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could say that.
And always have been?
Yeah.
Ambition for money? Ambition for success? Ambition for what?
I don't know, Jerry. It's hard to answer that. Yeah, I'm hugely ambitious. I never want to be out of money. That's for sure. I know what it's like to have no money. I just don't want to go back to those days. I'm also running for the fear of failure, and nobody wants to fail, and I don't want to fail. So, and there's only one way I need to go is keep that big wheel turning quicker to keep me getting away from poverty, quite, so and so forth. Ambitious, you get to the stage in your life that you have created something that you must look after. And out of that, we've been told all our lives that you can't stand still, you can't go backwards. There's only one way for this, you must keep going forward. And basically, if that answers your question, that's what I do. I just keep moving forward every day.
So you don't say there's great entrepreneurial skills, or do you?
I had to go with a group of people, there's a few in this room, in 2011 to understand and even know what an entrepreneur was. 2011 is not that long ago.
So all this has come fairly natural to you?
Yeah, so yeah. Builder and all that, and there's good things and working hard. Just happened.
Not bad for a joiner, eh?
Not bad for a joiner. Or country joiner, somebody would say.
Country joiner.
Country joiner.
How then did you move then from the Irish ferries and so on? Was there one big break into the luxury cruise liner?
There was a natural, not particularly, but there was a natural event that happened. When you work with Irish ferries and the 4 or 5 ships, Irish Continental Lines bought over B&I and come Irish ferries. When you're working on their 4 or 5 ships, then you're working with Stena that bought over a Sea Link. And when you were working, I knew the name of every captain and chief engineer right around the country on every major ferry. When you were working for all of those guys and they weren't giving you enough work to support your organisation, you had to look elsewhere. Because we grew, my ambition was, when I find a customer, I want to understand his needs, and then I grow a team around to deliver his needs. Well, I may have deceived his needs to be something different than they were, and he may not have always had all the time and enough work to keep my team going, so I'd have to look other places. So there's a natural progression that we moved into England, a bit of work in the ferries, which is pretty competitive and pretty well sewn up. And there was a natural thing to move into the next big thing, which was cruise ships. It was just natural, And we thought there was a bit of panache. We don't work in these ferries anymore. We're working up those big fancy cruise ships. So we went to look for work in the cruise ships, and that wasn't easy. God bless it, that wasn't easy.
So how did you go about it?
Invest Northern Ireland used to run a trade stand every year for a number of years in Miami. We went for 7 years. Went knocking on the door and met all these people for 7 years. Did an event that happens called Sea Trade. It happens once a year. It happens for 3 days a year. We went to that event, myself and Connie, and walked around with photographs, not even a brochure, with photographs of work that we had done, of different photographs of some of the stuff we'd done in pubs and so on and so forth, and on the ships, and just started trying to speak to people, and everybody said, yeah, it was wonderful, it was great, we need your service, and this went on, and the phone was dead, nobody was ever ringing us, so just kept doing this for about 7 years, and then eventually said, we have to do something very, very different here. And I was speaking to a guy who I used to meet every year, and he just said, I had a good, strong conversation with him and said, these guys, sometimes talk a bit through your, and you're all full of promises and nothing happens. I must have just hit a little chord with him. And he says, give me a couple of your cards. And I give him, and he says, here, I've got 5 left, take them all, I'll not need them, because I own them, that's it. And within a week or two, the phone rang, and the guy says, knew this guy for well, I met him for years, a guy called Roland. He said, you come out and see us, we'll have a bit of work for you. I says, yeah. He says, when can they come? And he says, I'm putting on my dogs now, I'm going to swim across. So I was as quick as I could get to Miami. I was over and met that guy and put me up in a big hotel. I went to look at the ship the next morning. We flew over then to Galveston in Texas, and we looked at another ship, and this was wow. Like, around the ship, notebook and pen, camera, and tape with me, took all my dimensions, come back home, price it up. And I'm sure it was $287,000. That was the very first one.
You never felt out of your depth talking to these people?
I don't know, only people. We're all like human beings.
Is that the way you approach it?
Oh, yeah.
No worries.
Actually, my brother.
What was your unique selling point when you go to these guys? What was MJ offering?
Sure, looking at him. What more would you want, Jerry?
Business was obviously booming then, so things were going really well. And in the year, what was your workforce at this stage?
30, 40 people, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about 30, 40 people.
By 2009, you then decided that you wanted to build a 100,000 square foot workspace down in Europe. And like 2009 was not a particularly good year to be making plans like that, was it?
From an accountant side, that's agent in the room. No, we were in Uri. We were building in River Island, or we were at a factory in River Island, and it was too small. And we had made plans. We had been making plans for a number of years. So this growth didn't wake up every morning. So we were in the process of building a new factory. I didn't see 2009 coming, but it came. I was halfway through building, almost 3/4 way building through a factory, just taking an awful massive big loan out of a bank, and I had to get it paid back. And we moved into the new factory, and sort of the recession come. We rebooted ourselves, took a look at where we were in the market and what we had to do, reshaped our organisation.
How did you do that?
Something I never want to do in my life again. We had 142 staff, and we cut them down to 71, which was probably about the worst day of my life. One of the worst days of my life, I have to say. I never forget it. Having to stand up about 3 foot above everybody else and make that judgment call that we'd gone as far as we could. I was one of the lucky ones. I knew 6 months in advance something like this would have to happen, but I didn't. I was slow to act. It took me about 6 months to get the courage to do it. As I say, I was lucky when I was one of the companies that got it made fairly sharp and get on with it. Turned nearly everybody that could walk on an airplane or fly into a salesman, or salesperson, and sell them to all different parts of the world, and said, don't come back, I don't want to see any of us here. Sent about 10 men out and said, don't come back to bring back business. One guy went to Australia, a couple went to America, one went to the west coast, the east coast, all over Europe, guys over to England, back into ferries, back into cruise ships, back into, we used to do a lot of fishing boats at the time too, send everybody all over the place, and then somebody come back with a little bit of work, made only about a 10 grand job, but it was better than no job. Our turnover back in those days, it went from north of 20 million to under 10 million in 3 months.
And what was your commitment at the bank at that stage?
As much as we sank money on that. But it was very big. 2009 we just completed a new factory, so we were fairly much in debt.
Making that decision to let people go. These are people, because I was down at your factory a couple of weeks ago, and as we walked around it, you knew practically every one of those workers by first name, and I imagine you know every one of them. I would have thought that emotionally was a very difficult decision for you.
Totally, it's the hardest day of my life, and I never go. And that's probably what drives, and that's the big stick that I use with my senior management teams. If anything like that ever happens again, guys, you stand up there, not me. And you have to explain to the wives and the families of how you have taken these people along on a journey and told them to give you their best, and you look after them, and now you have to stand up and tell them you're reneging on that. So that drives me, it drives our team. It's a very strong focus on a monthly basis in our place.
Yeah.
We keep reminding ourselves.
But you can't make hard decisions when they're required.
Well, you shouldn't be in business if you can't. So you have to. You have to. You must act quick.
Tell me about the factory itself. It really is state of the art, isn't it?
Aye. When we planned it in 2000, the planning process was in probably 2004, 5, probably 3. We bought the land in 2002. We went into the planning process, so by 2006 we pretty much knew what we were going to build. We were in 30,000 square feet in River Island, so we decided to double it and put a bit more on it, so we built 100,000 square feet. I can't count. So we built this big factory, and I remember our production manager going around the factory, and he had machines from one end of the factory to the other end of the factory, and it was costing as much to buy the machines as it was to build the place. And I said, look, we'll take over what we have, and we'll add a wee bit to it, and we'll put a temporary wall up here, and then as we grow, we'll move the wall. And it's worked very, very well for us.
So what's your workforce today?
When we left for Fryland in 2007 and 8, We had 140, we went straight away to 71, and we're back up to 340 in Uri, just in Uri.
Why in Uri? You could have built anywhere in the world. Uri is hardly the centre of the world, is it?
It's very close.
But I
Uri?
mean, you're operating in America. Well, of course, your neighbours are America, I suppose. You look at it that way.
So it's just across the pond. You know, if you head that way, it's the first place you hit.
Was it important that you kept the business here?
Yeah, I'm lazy. I'm lazy. I spend my life travelling in airplanes, and when I come home to home, home's home. Mum and dad's here, my wife's mum and dad's here, our friends are here. You know, we spend our lives traveling. We have spent our lives traveling. And whenever we come home, we were at home. We're comfortable at home. So we great loyalty from the people. Like, you know, this is a wonderful story. I'm only just this much of it. I'm only just a wee piece out in the front that everybody sees. It's all the working ants and all that whole army that's in behind us that actually makes all this possible and makes all this that happens. So, yeah, we have a great bunch of people in Northern Ireland. Very, very proud of what we've achieved over a long period of time. And yeah, of course, we could move it back to anywhere in the world. I don't see why you'd want to move it anywhere.
You mentioned that it's the team behind you. It's still a family-owned business.
Yeah, the wife owns it. I have to say that because she's here today, but if I was here, I'd say, no, I own it. But that's life, you know.
And moving into the future, can you maintain that family-owned?
Yeah. It's difficult. The wheel has started to spin pretty big. You know, we have ambitions. We're going to probably grow. We're going to continue to grow. And hopefully we can surround ourselves with enough people that can help us, advise us, and keep the wheels turning. Yeah, if we can. Yeah.
So who do you soundboard off? Who stops you losing the run of yourself?
Oh, she's sitting very close to you, Jack.
Well, back to you, Connie. Maybe you should come up here.
I think so. I think I might.
But what is the system of management? How are you set up down there?
Oh, we've got in MJM we've got 8 senior managers, so heads of departments, led by me for a long time. And as we started to grow and develop with other companies, and I needed to get involved in other companies, one of the guys who was a natural, who we took to be a natural leader of the bunch, he moved up into CEO of MJM. Gary's here today, and he has naturally just continued on with the group and the team to deliver part of the success that's there today. So we have the senior management team. Then we're very much into promoting the youth and bringing on the youth. We're bringing in roughly about 10 young apprentices every year into the workshop. We hope within 3 years that we're taking at least a third of those out into the office. And when it starts scaling those up, we have been at this process for a long number of years. So we seem to have a natural progression of junior apprentices coming in that end up working right up through the line. And if you take our senior management team, I think there's three people on that have come right through from apprentices.
Really?
So all homegrown.
How would you describe your style of leadership?
My staff could leave, I could really tell you the right story. Firm, focused, attitude, and fair. And fair. And really fair.
How do you mean fair? What do you mean by fair?
Fair day's work deserves a fair day's pay. And if we all get together, which we do, and we drive each other, I think we've constantly been told by some of the benchmarkers out there that we're paying way above the average. All you staff here, that is? Way above all the average. And which is true, we are. There's no doubt about it. But you know, we don't employ the average staff. We employ the best.
How good are you at delegating authority?
Very bad for a long number of years, but I've learned that with the size the company is growing and where our ambitions to grow to, I can't do it. Impossible. I think it was very difficult to get to the stage where it really had to happen. You had to wake up one morning and say, do you know what, if I want to continue the growth plan we're on, I have to step back a bit. I have to let other people go and make a mistake. And I really have to push them. Do you know, when I done it once or twice, it was dead easy after that. MJM has a board meeting, has a management meeting every quarterly, has a board meeting once a month. I don't even attend the board meetings anymore.
Really?
No. Haven't done for probably 18 months, 2 years now.
Whose decision was it to purchase MyVan's assets? Who were a rival of yours for many years?
Yeah, that was a funny time in our lives. That was a funny trip. Yeah, well, it was mine. Right, so,
Even though you didn't attend the board meetings, you didn't do any of that, but we'll buy MyVan. Why?
Scale. Purely to scale. And we looked up for MyVan. We looked up to MyVan from we started up a business. Doesn't matter where we went. MyVan was just when we were going to a meeting, they were coming out with the order. So they were always there first. They'd always beat us for a long number of years. So there was that rivalry of someday I'll get around the corner before you guys, and I'll get the order home. And that's slowly but surely happened over a long period of time. When they come up, I was nosy, more inquisitive more than anything. I just wanted to find out what their magic sauce was. What did it look like? What shape did it? What form did it create? Because they were hugely successful. Like the Northern Ireland's top premier company. Everybody sort of looked up to MyVan and what they'd done, which was incredible and excellent. It was excellence at the highest form was possible. So I was keen to sort of, while it coming to be a public thing, I just wanted to be one of the public to get in to see what was going on, what the magic sauce was. And when I got in, I realised what had happened to the company. I realised probably in the first hour and a half walking around the company, I realised what had happened to this company, where it had gone wrong, which I'm not about to talk about. And as from there, I seen the opportunity. And I have to say today, 5 years ago, 2 weeks, we own MyVan, 28th of January. 0 employees, 0 turnover. Last year they turned 30 something, nearly 40 million. 207 employees back full time. Place is warm, happy. Walk around the place, it's lived in. People are really happy. I think it's incredible just to get it back in.
So you have MyVan going, and then you decided to buy Top Class at Farmington Bridge. What was that about?
Well, they are suppliers to both MJM and MyVan. I think in their turnover, about 20 to 25% of their gross turnover would be to either MyVan or MJM. So it's a very easy decision. The owner of the business, I've known for many, many years. Way back in the early days, when I've been sitting outside the Sheep Bridge or somewhere in the area with the car, because that was the main road to Dublin, waiting to get down the road in the van. He would have come flying down the road in his car with four or five panes of glass in the boot of it, put them into the yoke, and then on I went to Dublin, Rosslare, or Cork, wherever I was going to. So with that relationship, I know him for a long, long time, and he muted to us a number of years ago that he was, at some stage, he would look at doing what he done. So we said, keep us in the picture, and because it is something that we feel that we can. He has set it on a path, and a very, very good path. I think we can take it on the rest of the journey, or hopefully we can take it on a further journey.
Tell me the companies that you're involved with today.
Sorry?
Tell me the companies that you work for today, the cruise liners. It's all the big names in the world.
Well, we have a senior vice president of one of those companies here today. So we work with NCL, very, very important customer to ourselves. NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line. You have, you have 3 main players, or maybe 4 main. That's basically you have 3 main players in the world. Carnival Corporation, who's the biggest. You have Royal Caribbean, or RCI, and you have NCL. They're the 3 big players. They would represent 90% of the world's cruising. I could be It could be maybe a few percent out, but we're talking in this magnitude, 90%.
And you're involved working with all those companies?
Yeah, the senior people in those companies and I have a relationship going back 20 years now. And we often talk to each other about, I ask them for advice on the business and they ask me advice on various different things. And we've just that relationship we're friends actually. Actually, above all, I would nearly say some of the guys that are they're very good friends with me.
Let's talk about the ship that you brought into Belfast. This was the first time Royal Caribbean ever allowed a ship to move away or to bring into Belfast to be refurbished. And you were the sole beneficiary of that.
Yeah. Royal, as in most of the other brands, are continuing to grow the companies. And as they continue to grow the companies and grow their staff and their people, they're constantly looking for new solutions. Everybody in business, we're always looking for new solutions. And a solution that we have been bringing to Royal and indeed to Carnival and NCL for a long time was, we believe that we have got what it takes to create a senior management team and a delivery team of excellence where we can actually take on your vessel. And what's happening in the marketplace, if you have the lack of, if you have 300-400 cruise ships, that means that at least 20% of those, so that you have 50-60 cruise ships in the world needing work done on all the time. And I don't know how big the office you'd want if you wanted to control that all in-house and in the major companies. You'd want hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of staff per company. We think we have potentially put the right mix forward where we can work across all the brands successfully, and we can offer them a one-stop shop and relieve and take away some of their issues and their problems. So in this case, this is something that had never been done before. There was a relationship that we had with the senior people and the companies that forged this to happen. And we actually were given, there's the name of the ship, there's the amount of time you have, and our budget's X pounds. And what we'd like to do with the ship is to bring it up in line with a couple of our existing ships. Those are our model ships. Go and look at them, which we already had done the work in, so it wasn't that hard to know. And give us back a ship. So that was really thinking outside the box. It took the chairman of the board to sign it off. It took longer to get that signed off than it actually took to get the work done, but there you go. Because we're really, really starting to break with tradition now.
Yeah.
So we obviously managed to get the chair convinced that this was the right move to do. His team and I convinced him. He handed us to the ship. We first then started to come to we looked at Holland as a place to take the ship. We looked at France. We obviously looked at home. And by degrees we become more comfortable with Belfast. And we worked with the guys down in the shipyard, Aaron and Wolf, and I think everybody got what they needed out of the project.
So long did it take that whole refit? How long was that contract for?
The refit, the actual contractual refit, was 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
Yeah.
And how many men did you have working on that at any one time?
It was a reasonably small job, about 800. We're doing one.
When you say refurbished, what do you mean? The entire thing, everything?
Yeah, if you can see some of the footage on YouTube and so on and so forth. We've been to a cruise ship, and anybody knows what a public space in a cruise ship looks like, and it goes back to the bare state. I mean, right back to the state.
So you're making everything.
So, the new walls, new floors, new ceilings, new furniture, new stage, new whatever, just everything is completely new. Sometimes they divide small rooms and make them into big rooms, and other times they make big rooms and divide them into small rooms. So you're categorizing them. So there's there's a million and one things to think about and do to change those over. Fire compression systems and so on and so forth. All the sort of stuff I knew nothing about.
There are severe penalty clauses, are there not, in this business if you don't finish on time?
What should we do?
If you didn't.
$1 million a day.
$1 million a day?
About $1 million a day, yeah. Some of the bigger contracts now, because the ships are so big, you can imagine 4,000 passengers coming onto one of the bigger cruise ships, and 10 days before they go to fly, and the cruise ships have all their flights booked, and the hotels booked, and the whole thing booked. And I wouldn't like to be the one, but if you had to stand up to the chair to say, the chairman of that company, and say, that ship's not going to be finishing time, can we cancel it? Yeah, sure, dead easy. Give everybody the money back, give them all a free cruise, pay all the airfares and the hotels and so on and so on. So they need something to keep everybody focused. I don't even think $1 million a day would represent the actual loss to the company if they had to cancel a cruise ship.
Wow.
I'm actually quite sure it wouldn't. It is a token amount to keep everybody focused. So because we would be the size of the contractor, I think actually some of our contracts would even go up to maybe $2.5 million a day penalties. But we're not talking about that because we'll never get there.
No, but you knew that you were going to finish this one on time.
Oh yeah.
And you did finish it on time.
Yes.
And then
Actually
you,
finished it a
with
couple
the
of days
brass
early.
neck, you spoke to the head concho.
Well,
And what did you suggest to him?
you see, this whole new thing has all started with partnership model.
Mhm.
We all work as partners now,
Mhm.
and which is good, and I like that. It's a bit comfortable when you're working with somebody as a partner rather than an owner contractor. So we've gone through the deal, what would happen, how the ship, what the colours were, the budget, so much work, got it all signed off, and we come home with a contract. Gary and myself and Neve, three of us, were negotiating the contract, and out comes the contract, and contracts sort of this thick. Signing through it, and you will, and you will, and you will, and you won't. You do this, and the penalty clause, boom. I lifts the guy and says, I can't see the word partnership anywhere. And he says, oh, it's in there somewhere, just sign it. So I says, well, I'll tell you what, if I produce the ship in this partnership model, which is a big legal document that costs a lot of money to write, if I produce the ship a couple of days early, will you give me, if my penalty clause is $1 million a day, if I give you the ship back 2 days or 3 days early, will you give me $1 million a day in a bonus? Oh, he says, we couldn't do that. I says, this partnership model is really working, isn't it? So it ended up that I says, sure, me and me. I says to him, well, sure, if we do finish a couple of days early, what are you going to do? He says, nothing. I says, sure, give me and a few of the mates, take her for a spin. And it was a sort of, as bold as that, and it sort of ended up, we could work that.
They actually gave you the ship a couple of
We
times.
had the ship for 2 days. We went out to the Isle of Man. He says, where would you go? And I says, well, just out around the Isle of Man and back again. He says, as you would. Why wouldn't you? Like, it'd be rude not to. It's the same place.
Who went with you on this?
Because I was in the Entrepreneur of the Year program 2011. I first of all, I wanted to mark the occasion. And on a dead serious note, I wanted to mark the occasion. We believe, and we strongly believe, and I think the evidence is there, that there's never been a cruise ship come into Belfast that had the volume and quality of joinery work done to it. The last one we know didn't stay in the water too long. Well, she's still in the water. Anyway, we think this is the first decent sized ship back again. So we really wanted to mark it. It was very dear to me that we marked the occasion. So when I got it agreed with the guys that we could take the thing for a bit of a spin with a few mates, I went to Ernest & Young, who jumped all over it, thought this was a great campaign. So we then at MJM, we invited friends and family. We ended up taking, I don't know, 600-700 people. 600. Ended up taking 600 people for a spin out around the Isle of Man back again.
Class.
I think some of them's in this audience here, so it ended up we were supposed to put the diesel in the yoke. I asked the question.
How much would diesel in the yoke cost?
250,000 a day. So $500,000 just to take her around the Isle of Man and back again.
Oh!
Yes. But then, lucky enough, there was a little clause in the contract that couldn't charge me.
In fact, you raised money for charity.
That's actually what we set out to do.
Yeah.
So,
What did you raise for charity?
161,000 sterling for a lady. That's brilliant.
You have a brass neck on your Brian McConville.
For anything but soap, it's the same as going to our country.
Can we talk a little bit about Brexit?
Yeah.
Which is looming. How is it going to affect MJM?
Which already affected everybody in the audit, and it actually affected us all on the island already. I'm not sure. I've been saying, everybody I've been very public about, it should never have happened, but it did happen, but that's it. And I keep saying to the people when I'm talking, just make a decision and stick with it. Whatever the decision. It's a wrong decision. There's no such thing as a wrong or right decision. make a decision and stick with it and tell everybody what the decision is and just get on and deliver.
But if there's a no-deal Brexit, that's going to affect you hugely, is it not?
It's going to affect everybody. I don't think I really want to get into too deep to how really hard it would affect a lot of companies. It's nobody seems to be talking about the real depth of how it's really going to hurt. We're going to have a mass exit of a lot of companies out of Ireland, north and south, that are going to go to bigger playing fields, i.e. somewhere in Europe, somewhere in America, whatever. I most certainly don't want to have to do that. I'm 35 years building a business at home. I don't see why I should have to uproot it and take it somewhere else. But
yeah.
I'm very, very strong advocate that we should stay at home. And I hope that the politicians and the government sort of make it so that can happen for us all.
But are you preparing for a no-deal Brexit?
Yeah, very much so.
Is that why you opened an office in Poland?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have an office in Poland for 22 years.
Right.
But we've just, in the last 3 years, we've just multiplied it by about 20%. And we're doing there's some serious consideration been given to having something very meaningful out there, should we get the wrong decision here. Doesn't really matter to us. We're on a growth. We're in growth mode, really strong growth mode. So do you know what? Me being the chairman of this, we need both. Northern Ireland and I think that's what I do.
Are you planning to expand?
Oh yes.
Are you planning to bring more ships into Belfast?
We're planning to, we currently are very much developing the model that just happened in Belfast. We're developing that model with all the brands, and we'd expect in the next couple of years to be able to do multiple ships per year or per season.
And the place to do those would be down at Harland & Wolff. And you want to expand.
Yeah.
And Harland & Wolff's up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Would you happen to be looking at Samson and Goliath?
I see, look out through the window and you see them.
Would you be interested in taking it a few stages further with Mr. Olsen?
Jesus, when I come here, I was told Big Fergal says, "Sure, just a bit of an old chat." The family jewels and all the secrets.
Yes, and?
And what?
And would you be looking that way?
Sure, I look every road. I'm constantly watching behind me as well. See who's catching up.
Is that it?
It's about as much as we could say.
All right. What do you see are the biggest challenges ahead of you?
People.
How do you mean?
People. Finding the young people with the right mentality to get them into an organisation and grow. I believe we're very successful employing 600 in Northern Ireland, 1,800 worldwide. There's no reason why we can't double or treble that in the next 5-10 years. No reason.
So your turnover at the moment is?
Disappointingly, 600,000 short of 100 million this year in MJM.
Wow. And that's not including buyback?
Not separate. They done us, I think, 35 million this year. And time pass.
How big can you actually go? Are you not terrified?
Well, that's just how I get used to it. I know, because I can't get the buttons on a chair. And the wife keeps saying, "How much bigger are you going to get?"
Brian, you have a great attitude to life, I have to say.
Sure.
How do the Americans and the Norwegians and all do you wonder?
I can tell you in a couple of hours' time. We've got 70 of them over in MJM. This is the first time ever it's happened. Normally, that's a little sort of piece of information or a snippet of how successful you are. Is after spending 20 years running to America and going and staying in hotels in Miami and meeting all the other contractors and all the other suppliers and the ship owners coming along to have these conference supplier days, and the fact that the first one that I'm sure it's the very, very first one in 20 years has ever happened outside Miami. It's currently happening today, or yesterday, today, and tomorrow in MJM anyway. We have over 70 people staying in the local hotels that have flown in from all around the world, led by someone in this audience, or a couple of people in this audience. And we're looking at where we are and where the future's going and so on and so forth. So that's a big thing for us, massive for us.
Absolutely.
Massive for Northern Ireland.
Yes, exactly. Did you purchase the old military barracks up in Ballykelly as well?
Oh, I did, yeah.
What are your plans for that?
Well, we've already set our third Chinese factory up. It's a very small competitor of ours that went into a bit of financial difficulty there just before Christmas. So we bought his assets and we took on all of his employees. We have them all fired up and I've got them a new purpose, a new reason, a new goal. And we're currently building them a factory like MJM and well, a smaller version of what we have, but all the same products, all the same process, all the same. So they've started in just before Christmas, I think 12 of them. I think they've now got about 30 employees. Hopefully by Christmas we'll have 100 up there.
And is that for the cruise market as well?
Yeah. Well, it's for specialist joinery, shop fitting, and all of that type of thing that we work in. But
so you've been doing luxury yachts and hotels and
yes.
so on.
Yes.
And didn't you do the restaurant in the Oriental
Heston Blumenthal.
Heston Blumenthal's
Yes,
hotel?
I did, yeah.
Did you?
I met Heston a few times.
Oh,
And
excuse me.
he cooked dinner for myself and Neve, didn't he?
Did he? Never name drop, Brian.
I have to rub shoulders with important people, so I didn't know that. Joe. Next time I come back, I'll say that.
Paul McCartney told me that.
But Stella, his daughter, we done a lot of work on her.
Oh, yeah. Very good. You also have a property portfolio as well.
I have a couple of bits and pieces, yeah.
Like
Shackleton, Braggs, MJM, Myville.
Pearl Building and anything else.
Yeah, a couple in the square there, yeah.
Dalmolly Retail Park. And
Aye.
you're forgetting about these ones, aren't you? These.
No, Jerry. What's the old saying? Well, Charlie keeps telling me, go slow, fly low, and don't blow. Jerry, go on, Jerry.
Looking back on all you've achieved, Brian, you must be so proud of what you've done.
I'm so proud and touched of the team. I'm trying to keep going back to it, but it's very, very important to me. The team of people that we've created in MJM, how that's rubbed off into the people in my family, how my family, like my son Conleth would have come in, and Neve, and they all would have come from their primary school in Friend, or Barnmean, wherever they were. Whenever they're young, they would come into MJM, would set up in the boardroom table and done their homework. Not often, but a few times. Conleth would have went down into the factory, and those days health and safety wasn't maybe as big a thing. He would drive the forklift. He would have to stand on the forklift to stay over the steering wheel, but that no. So I got involved in the business, Neve very much got involved in the business, doing various wee bits and pieces. Connie was in the business, she was doing sales, whatever. So it was very much family, and our team of people got embraced in that, and we got embraced in that. So it's hugely satisfying to see how we, including myself, we all developed skills. We grow and we developed the teams around us way past where we ever thought we'd go. Hugely past it. And our family, and now we've got Neve and Conleth and Charlotte, our youngest daughter, so in the business, very, very strong. Sits on all of the senior management teams, sits in the executive board, sits in the strategic board. So yeah, it's
would you see yourself stepping aside and in the near future and letting the younger generation take it on?
There's plenty for us all, Jack. There's enough room for them too. Plenty for us all.
Plenty for you all. You couldn't retire, could you?
I could take the odd day off.
And when you do take the odd day off, what interest do you have? What floats your boat?
A big tractor around the fields. I like to do a bit. Well, I do actually. Connie and myself, we do go away on a few holidays every year. I do like a bit of farming. I must say, it's I find it a little bit. When it's all going well and the machine's all working and everything, it's just nice to be out there. It's very therapeutic for me. It gives me a little bit of time to think because I can't hear the mobile phone ringing, so you've got to think. You hear the noise. and gives you something. So there's something about it that I really like.
You're into the horses as well, aren't you?
I like a horse.
You like the, not gambling, you actually like horses.
No, we have a horse. We have a nice horse at the moment. Well, a few nice horses, but one in Pacific. One very Pacific horse is down by.
You were chasing money since the age of 11. Have you caught up with it yet?
Yeah, if they hadn't made it round, because it keeps rolling in front of me, I can't catch it. But sure, there you go.
Does it interest you as much today as it did back then?
It keeps the score, that's for sure. No doubt about that. There's no question. We all need something to be focused on, and there needs to be a number at the end of it. And unfortunately, the number then goes into a percentage. You're judged by the percentage. Somebody stands up and says, "Oh, I have a wonderful company, and we're making 50%." And everybody says, "Well, we have to chase after try to be as successful as that company." So money goes in. It's a way of keeping score. That's really all it is. And it should be used that way.
Yeah.
So to keep score and balance the books.
What advice do you give to any young fellas starting out in companies today? What should they be doing?
Well, never put off to tomorrow what you can do today, Joe. Because that was my motto. If I could do it in the day, and that day I'd get it done. I would never leave it to the next day. That would be number one. And I'd say to people, if you mind your own business, you spend more time looking after your own business and looking after other businesses and talking about other people's business and really focus on your business and get into the depths of it. And it's hard work. And there's a lot of sacrifices to be made. But if you really, really get deep down into it and work hard, and you probably always have to find something a little bit unique, find your own unique selling point. And yeah, it's all possible. When it happened for me, it's possible for anybody.
You mentioned the word unique, Brian. You're unique as far as I'm concerned. And of all the ones that we've done here over the past 7 or 8 years, I think you're certainly the most down to earth and most honest and outspoken one that I've spoken to in the past 7 years.
I just say it as it is, Joey. There's no point. There's those that know me, and I'm
a hairy arse businessman.
very nice builder, Joe.
Not a hairy arse businessman. That's where we started. Maybe that's where we'll end. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Brian McConville.
Thanks, Jerry. Professor Mark Durkin, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, including comments on your behalf and on behalf of Team PKF-FPM, I would like to express our heartfelt appreciation to Brian McConville for sharing what I think we'd all believe was a heartfelt, sharing his inspirational one-generation career life journey, setting up a joinery business in his father's shed, to developing and leading the MJM Group, as he said himself, comprising MJM, Live and Top Class, this morning for our 8th Annual Leadership Talk. I certainly found it fascinating. Brian's passion for life and business and entrepreneurial flair, aligned to a clear set of values to make a positive difference to this island and beyond, was clearly evident, I think you'll all agree, this morning, as he shared his life and career experiences with us. It is refreshing to reflect on Brian's comment. He kept referring to it's about team. It's about putting hard-working, decent people together, that everybody stands up and backs up each other just to make it happen. MJM Marine has been already stated, has now earned a reputation as one of the world's leading cruise refit companies, working with the largest cruise operators in the world. And as has been referred to a few times, but I think still we must keep referring to it as an unbelievable achievement, last year to fit out the Azamara Pursuit for the Royal Caribbean at Belfast Docks here, the largest project in Belfast Docks for many, many years. When coupled with his group leadership skills at Live and Top Class and diversification, though he didn't want to tell us too much about it, into commercial business and retail property, it has been a tremendous role model of success. You know, I think the insight he gave us this morning, that literally if you can do it today, don't put it off to tomorrow, was fascinating. And I think we also seen a wee bit behind that smile now and again when he said that, yes, you can't lead if you don't take hard decisions. There's a care and there's a passion there, but he's certainly not afraid to take hard decisions, as he said himself. Sometimes you have to take them for the good or evil. So I think certainly I found it fascinating, Brian, and thank you again for honouring us. And it takes two to chat, and I'm sure you would all agree that Jerry Kelly gave us another par excellence performance today.
Yeah.
and central to his enormous achievements in broadcasting. By the way, somebody said he was near 70, or somebody said he maybe announced his 70th birthday, or he didn't announce his 70th birthday, but he certainly announced his 68th anyway, so he's in between there. And, I think I'm being generous, but anyway. What I'm really saying is that whilst he has been around so long, he has never lost the touch of class, and more importantly, he's matured that touch of class over the years. So thanks again, Jerry, for a real professional.
Thank you, Bert.
If there's any comfort, Jerry, somebody congratulated me on my 60th birthday the other day, and I was very clear to tell them that I haven't reached 60. But there you go. Listening and observing Brian McConville, thankfully I do believe that there are similarities with the PKF caring, people-centred and client-centred culture, where we try to place great emphasis on both our business brand and our employee brand, including a commitment to diversity and inclusion. We believe that business, like life, is just a game of inches, and in either game, whether it be life or business, the margin for error is so small, and thus a united team with a common vision and purpose is required to deliver sustainable superior performance and aggressive growth for our practice. And we talk about Team PKF-FPM, the power of one, that is working together, everybody achieves more. Thus, within FPM, we're always trying to seek that inch of improvement both for ourselves and for our clients. And collective character is vital to success. At PKF-FPM, we believe that by focusing on getting the culture right, the results will follow. We seek to encourage and deliver leaders at all levels throughout our practice, recognizing that being of team begins from inside, and that high standards must come from within. Leadership works best when our team takes the lead. And I suppose, to put it bluntly, our desire is to be recognized, but you have to earn it, as the most trusted business advisor. That is, we want to be in the room when the real decisions are being taken, not to be informed afterwards. Brexit may be dominating the headlines, but it's not the only issue that businesses should be planning for at the moment. Attracting, developing, and retaining staff, preparing a succession plan for the future, preparing for making tax digital, and protecting your business against cybercrime should also be top priorities. We were indeed delighted and honoured to host the Leadership Talk this morning in association with our fellow Management Leadership Network champion organisation, Ulster University Business School, as part of the MLN Management Month. It is a great privilege to work closely with Professor Mark Durkin, Dean. Sorry, Mark, I knew you were thinking of Valentine's Day, but I just thought I better go back and definitely say Dean. So Professor Mark Durkin, Executive Dean, Ulster University Business School, and his colleagues at Morning Fox in the organisation of today's event. And I'd like to publicly thank them for all their guidance and support, and through them, all their colleagues. Things like this don't happen. I'm very conscious that as a visiting professor at the university, and as a member of the Ulster University Business School Advisory Forum, that the UUBS, as it's regularly referred to, is implementing a very exciting strategic entrepreneurial plan in the context of the university's 5 and 50 strategic priorities. Congratulations also to the Management Leadership Network and our fellow champion organisations, many who are represented here today under the direction of Bill Manson and Kevin Kelly, who put together a tremendous programme of events for this February's Management Month initiative. I know you all got a leaflet coming in about the summit on the 1st of March. Don't forget it, Paul McGinley has going to grace them with his presence, former Ryder Cup captain, and I think they're expecting a fantastic day. You will appreciate, as I said earlier, that events like this just don't happen. In respect of the food and hospitality, we'd like to thank Jennifer Campbell and her student team at the University of Calgary Restaurant. In terms of university administration, we thank the facilities management team. And in terms of ICT and audio, we thank Chris Powell and his team. We'd also like to acknowledge the PR and media support from Jane Wells. We'd like to acknowledge our own video team, led by Darren McCoy, and not forgetting our very quiet photographer, also quiet, Darren Minnie. I think you'd all agree we're very fortunate to be entertained by the beautiful music early this morning down below by the Arco String Quartet, and we thank them also for their efforts. Indeed, I am conscious that as I get up each morning, how fortunate and honoured I am to lead a positive team PKF-FPM. And once again, I would like to thank all my colleagues for their tremendous support, and in particular Lauren Quinn, who I can tell you has quite a few things on this year, but didn't prevent her organising this superbly. So well done, Lauren, in the organisation of today's PKF-FPM Leadership Talk. In terms of thanks, finally I'd like to thank you for coming out in such great numbers. I know you weren't disappointed. It was a full house, you can see the standing room, and that's a credit to Brian McConville, but I think it's also a credit to us all that we're all keen to learn, because any of us who forgot learning, well, we're not going too far. So in that context, Brian, thank you for contributing so much to our learning journey and to life's experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian McConville. Before we conclude, I'd like to ask my colleague Paddy Hardy if he would make a presentation to Brian.
2 weeks on a cruise ship.
And when Paddy is actually presenting a caricature which has been done by Brendan Pierce, a masterpiece actually for Brian, but you can see it's a phenomenon. It shows that Brian reading the Irish Times, here the 17th of May 2017, Brian McConville named Belfast Telegraph Business Person of the Year. It also has the other side of the paper did the 24th of July 2018 with a caption, MJM complete historic 50 million fit out of our pursuit. Believe it or not, I think you'll all see, if you see it, you couldn't believe it. It's a phenomenal, this is all done in paper caricature. There's a phenomenal one of the RDS Dublin horse show, which Brian, I think one would say the only thing you're guaranteed is that every year you will find him at the horse show for a week. It also, believe it or not, Brian, I hope you recognise it, the Asmara cruise ship there. It also, believe it or not, that horse that Brian was referring to, MJM Pursuit, keep your ears open, keep watching show jumping over the next year or two, starting to make very inroads already, but that's the horse. Also, it has a picture of Ballyward Estate, which Brian kept very quiet, but it's home to him and his family. And he would never want to be anywhere without Connie, so Connie, on Valentine's Day, hopefully there's a little frame picture of you there in the head. So we didn't put a red rose on, we knew there was plenty around, Connie, all right. And obviously the logos of MJM, my man in top class, and we had to give him a mug with today's date on. But I hope that in years to come, this will be a momentum for Brian of today's event. Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you, Jerry Kelly.